Okay, so I think I'm doing this correctly. This is brand new for me, so I'm giving this a shot, this recording software. What I'm going to try to walk through today is the setup for the chucker lathe here. Now, this is my first time running through this, so I'm not sure. This might not be totally useful. We may end up changing things. As always, just bear with me here, but we're going to run through what I believe to be the setup and adding tools in this video. Uh, we'll do another video on actually running the turning program and then exporting, and hopefully that's all we need to do to get parts into this lathe. But we shall see. Again, bear with me. This may be a little difficult or unnecessary. I'm not sure yet. We're trying to figure this out as we go here. So what we're looking at here is Fusion 360. I have a part created. This is a pawn for a chess piece. I'm not going to walk you guys through creating parts at this stage. You should understand that. But what we do need to walk through is the setup and adding tools so that we can go up here to the turning tools and program a roughing pass, and then hopefully eventually a finishing pass, and we can export those passes to like a flash drive or directly to the machine. We will see. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is create a turning setup here. Now, when you begin the part, you'll be in this design stage. This is where you actually create the sketches and revolves that you're going to use. The first step here is to change to manufacture. All right, when you enter manufacture, you'll be on this milling tab. We got to make sure we go to the turning tab. All right, that's going to change some of the tools here that we're going to use. But regardless of which tab you're in, you still have this setup over here. And that setup allows you to tell the machine what kind of stock you're putting in that machine. All right, so I'm going to click this new setup button right here. And because I'm in the turning tab here, the computer defaults to knowing that I need like a round stock. All right, so it puts this yellow kind of tube around my part. All right, because that's the piece of metal that's going in the machine, and then the actual part is what it's going to cut. So we need to tell the machine how big the piece of metal is before we actually cut anything. All right, so our options are all over here on the right. Now, one part that I'm not quite sure about yet is how we're going to add our machine. If you click this machine select option, the Haas turning is not a default machine in the machine library up here. So, I'm still working on figuring out how to get that machine into the software. But as soon as we do, we're going to select the Haas CL1. That stands for Chucker Lathe. That's the machine that we have. So we're going to figure this out. I'm working on it. Okay, so that would be one of the first steps that we're going to work through. The second one here is this section right here. Now, we don't have to change anything in here because we are turning. It already knows that because we're in that turning section. One thing that you may have to do, though, is flip the Z-axis. Right now, if we zoom in on these axes that they have here, up here it says that the chuck is on this side of the part. Now, we don't want the chuck on the round top. We want the chuck at the bottom. So I'm going to choose flip Z-axis, and what you see is it flips that axis, right? So I put the chuck at the bottom, and I put the actual safe zone for the tool beyond the tip of the part. Okay, so we're going to make sure that we flip the Z-axis. Okay, so once we've done that, some other things that you should know is we want our safe Z reference to be at least 5 millimeters offset from the actual part. All right, so what that safe means is when the tool comes in, if the stock is spinning really fast, we want our tool to have a safe location to go to without touching the actual part. So we want at least some sort of offset there. The default is fine. 5 millimeters is not large, but it's big enough. Okay, so we'll continue working through this. Most of these things I don't think we need to change. The spun profile is going to be the model. We'll keep it on that. And then the chuck reference. So I'm debating on what the chuck reference should be. I think right now it's set back 10 millimeters. I'm not sure until we get a part in there if we want that to be 10 millimeters or if we want it to be 0. I believe if we say 10 millimeters, the actual stock that's sticking out beyond the chuck, we're going to want it to be 2 inches plus 10 millimeters. If we set this to 0, then it would be exactly at the 2 inches. I'm going to have you guys model your parts slightly smaller than 2 inches. So I'm debating on this. We'll know more once we get a part in there and we start turning. But for right now, we'll leave this at the default -10. All right, so now that we've kind of run through the setup section, we're going to switch over here to stock. Now we want to keep this on the fixed size cylinder because we're putting cylindrical pieces in the chuck. We're going to continue with the fixed size because we're going to cut our stock to a specific size here. So the stock diameter, I know this is in millimeters. We're going to do this all in inches. So I'm going to type 1 inch here. All right, the length is going to be 2 inches. The model position at 0 is fine, and then rounding up is fine. I know that we're typing in inches and there's millimeters in here. I really wish that we worked in metric, just make things a lot easier. But a lot of the stuff that we refer to here is in inches, so we're going to make sure that these two things are changed to that. All right, so now we're going to go to post processor. We're going to keep the program number at 1001 for now. If we have other parts that we're putting in there, we'll change it to 1002 or 3 or 4 or whatever on from then. And we're not going to change any of these other options here. Okay, so now that we have the setup complete, we'll hit OK. And now you'll see that the setup gets added into our list over here. We also have our model in the model section, and if we had anything else, it would be over here. So the setup is now complete. The machine should know what the stock is and what the model is. So what we're going to do next is add some tools, and then we'll call the video there because this is kind of a long process. All right, so we're going to go to the turning profile rough, and up here it's going to ask what tool we have. So we'll work through this stuff in the next video, but for now we're going to add one tool. I'll have you guys add some of the other tools. We'll just do one as an example right now. But what we need to do is select a tool. And again, when you select a tool, the tools that we have are not a part of the tool library here. So if I go to turning, there's no data. All right, there are no tools preloaded into Fusion 360, so we're going to have to add ours. The process is a little challenging, but luckily all the information that we need is on the Haas website, which I've already added to your guys' Canvas page. So the first step here to add a new tool is we got to make sure we're in this untitled part right here. Now, if I had saved this part as a name, like chess piece, it would be called chess piece here, but I haven't saved it yet, so it's called untitled. I'm going to hit the plus sign up here. It's going to ask what type of tool we're doing. We're going to do turning general down here. Now, we're not milling, so none of the milling tools are necessary. We want a turning tool. All right, so we're going to start adding some data in here. The description, I want you guys to start with